I'm excited to go and review some of these guests that we've had. This was fun.
Well. First of all, not to uh, toot our own horn, but when you look at the guests that we've had,
Hmm.
uh, one of them is Kash Patel,
Yep.
who is our FBI director. Another is Harmeet Dhillon, who is nominated to be the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights. Another is former presidential candidate Doug Burgum, who is nominated to be the Department of Interior head.
We've
Right,
had
Secretary
half the
of Interior.
cabinet on our show here, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I don't know about that, but we've had a lot of them, and then there's some
That's
others.
what I'm going
So,
with.
so you go with that. So, you know,
I'm
you
a
got to stop
woman.
here
I
at
get to
some point.
exaggerate.
You, I'm not touching that. There's so many things I could say on New Year's Eve that would probably get us bleeped off of YouTube
Ladies,
or some other platform.
I got my button ready. I got my button.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, what we really wanted to do was go back to some of the great interviews and people that we had on the show and play a little clip because there's some really interesting things. Let's start with Kash Patel, nominated to be the director of the FBI. Came out with the book, Government Gangster, which was then made into a movie.
That's
We
right.
had him on the show. He was a great guest. Ericka, I'm going to roll this over to you.
Government gangsters aren't people who are unsuccessful. It's dismissive to label them as such because we disagree with their politics. That's separate and apart from the reason I dislike Nancy Pelosi. I dislike her because she represents everything that's bad with Washington, D.C. Whether she's in leadership or anointing the next leadership or eviscerating the Democratic process for the Democratic Party and throwing out 14 million votes and anointing Kamala Harris to be the president, she is always right there, no degrees of separation from what is going on in the powerhouse of Washington. And what is she, like 80 something? And they're making fun of us for having octogenarians, but she will not go away. I mean, she's not Speaker of the House anymore, and she might be more powerful now than she ever has been. She just remade the political presidential landscape with the sitting president of the United States, sidelined him and handpicked his successor. I mean, literally. And you got to be kidding me if you don't think she didn't pick the vice president of the United States. And that's what embodies government gangster.
He entered the presidency under a coup, essentially. I mean, what else would you call that?
So I think everyone learned. It's not just whether Donald Trump learned. I mean, I'll let him speak for himself, but I think everyone learned that, okay, we put a little too much faith in the system. The system took advantage of it. And here's why. Here is like sort of the final piece of Government Gangsters, the film and the book. It's really simple. Trump.
That was such a good interview.
You know what? And I think that he is going to clean house at the FBI, the likes of which has not been seen since after J. Edgar Hoover.
Yes, I love it.
Died,
I love it.
and then they appointed a new director, right? Because at the end of the day, this comes down to, and he's 100% correct. There cannot be two sets of laws. You cannot weaponize laws for politics, and there cannot be two-tiered system of justice, which clearly there has been, right?
Yes.
So I'm eager to see. I believe, another Robert prediction. We'll get to some of those later tonight. I predict that Kash Patel will be confirmed as the next director of the FBI. And I think that there are people now who are resigning left and right, both from the Department of Justice and the FBI, because they don't, well, it's not just that they don't want to be there when Trump is sworn into office. Is they're now lawyering up, if you read the press.
Ooh.
A lot of these attorneys are going to some of the top law firms in DC, but B, they're hiring attorneys already in anticipation of litigation against them for wrongful prosecution and other things.
Oh, well,
what do you think of them apples?
That's amazing. We have another clip of Kash Patel. You want me to roll that one?
Well, before we do, I want to go to this whole thing about Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah.
If Nancy Pelosi is stronger after she was the Speaker of the House than she was as Speaker of the House, that's a scary thing. Because it's the same issue with Barack Obama, right? Arguably, he's no longer held checks and balances and constitutionally limited by things, yet the power that he has exerted, and let's look at the cabal, because that's what it is, ladies and gentlemen, CABAL, look it up. There's a cabal, right, of power of people deep state, call them what you want, who do not want to relinquish power. And it is an ideological struggle that we're engaged in. And I do believe, honestly, we have crested. I believe the reason I said in the monologue that there are 16 years of Obama Biden, because even during the 4 years of Donald Trump's first term, he was so hamstrung with whether it was Russiagate or the fact that they spied on him or the impeachments, not one, but two, right? The prosecution of all the January 6th, people wrongfully, in my opinion.
There's all the even just all the chaos with the, people on both sides and having to defend that crap over and over again instead of having conversations about stuff that actually mattered.
Right. So one could argue that we have had not 8 years, not 12 years, but 16 years in one form of it or another of Obama, Biden, Harris. And I think that was the repudiation. As much as I think people voted for Donald Trump, for sure, I think a lot of people voted against Obama, Biden, Harris.
Yes.
I think Obama, Biden, Harris are the big losers of 2024.
Well, and that's,
and let's say Pelosi too.
Yeah,
Obama, Biden, Harris, Pelosi.
That's what the neocons and these Democrats, these corrupt politicians that have been stealing from the American people, selling off our businesses and our economic activity and, insider trading and all that other crap. We can see them now. The internet exists. Back in the day, they could get away with this crap pretty much because, a lot of people didn't check the news. They weren't watching newspapers or reading newspapers, watching the TV or whatever. And so now, like, we can see the videos of you lying back to back. We can see the videos of you saying, oh, no, you got to wear a mask. No, don't wear a mask. No, I lied to you about the mask. Like, we see you, bro. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for all these people to go away.
Well, they're not all going to go away, but I think a lot of them are going to go away. I think the cycle has ended. I think there's still going to be pockets of resistance in the government. I think we still are a long way from reclaiming academia and sort of the socialist and everybody's worried about these H-1 visas, right?
Yeah.
I'm more concerned about the student visas, right? You have all these, how many, 500,000 student visas, 1 million student visas, I don't even know the number, issued every year, of foreign nationals coming here and then getting brainwashed by our institutions and frankly also funding these institutions going forward. So there's a whole lot.
I hadn't even thought about that, Robert.
Oh yeah. Look, people are worried about the H-1 visas. I get that. Okay.
Yeah.
And there's an argument on both sides. It'll be interesting to see. Let's hope we don't have a circular firing squad in the Republican Party because we're good as the party out of power. Let's hope we can govern, and let's hope that Speaker Johnson doesn't end up being Paul Ryan. I don't think he will. I think he's a man of principle, but I think he understands that compromise is endemic in the system. I'm not sure we are at a point in the cycle of this country where compromise beyond certain issues is really what America wants, but we shall see.
Yeah.
What I do want to focus on is let's go back. The interesting thing in that Kash Patel interview. So the first part was interesting about sort of the cabal of Nancy Pelosi and the power, right? But then he goes on, because we started talking, if you remember, we went on to say, I always thought this started during the Clinton years, right? Because, sort of the Arkansas or the Little Rock connection. But his point was much more interesting, that he says it started much earlier. Let's roll that tape.
When I agree that the Clintons and the Arkansas clan is part of the deep state, but I think the deep state started when Ike Eisenhower called out the defense industrial complex in the 50s. And he said, if we don't control this animal, it is going to usurp the powers of government. And not just the defense industrial complex, but everything a part of it. How government figures want to go in and out of Washington, D.C., and they want to get their golden parachute. And they got to want to go work on this private company or that board and come back and get rewarded for their corrupt activities in government instead of serving the people. So over those last 50, 60 years, we've encapsulated all of it in Government Gangsters, the film, and stitched together how basically you just move people in and out. It's not one face. It's not Democrat or Republican. And they're repeating the same playbook just with upgraded technology. So as bad as Russiagate was, and as horrible as it was for a political opponent to go overseas and purchase bogus intel and feed it to the FBI, then lie to a federal court to illegally surveil a presidential candidate, as bad as that was, They did it again with 51 Intel letter. They did it again with the insurrection narrative, which was never constitutionally grounded. They did it again with whatever version of Get Trump they're doing now, like, oh, we're going to give illegal aliens the right to vote. It's totally illegal, but they're going to do it anyway because they don't care. Now it's so in your face. At least with Russiagate, they hit it. They said everything's classified. You can't see anything. You guys aren't smart enough to look at this information. Only the criminals in government can do it. And now they're just like, whatever.
I love that. You guys aren't smart enough. Only the criminals in government.
Right. So the brilliant part of that was connecting the dots all the way back to Eisenhower. I mean, I know my history, and I remember Eisenhower in his farewell speech warning about the military-industrial complex, but it didn't dawn on me that there is a line of connection all the way back. Look, look, our military and our technology sector, and the Lockheed Martins and all. I mean, they do yeoman's work. So I'm not trying to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but the fact that you can connect the dots all the way back, there is very much a military-industrial complex that has never seen a war or a theater of engagement they didn't like, because it's obviously driven by profit. Having said that, I think one of the other changes is, let's not forget, we used to have something called the Department of War. And they shifted that, like what's in a name, they shifted that to a Department of Defense. Well, it's not because it's more sellable, right? It's not just about defense. I mean, wars are supposed to be ugly. And the reason they're supposed to be ugly is so you don't have a lot of them. Right. So, but defense sounds, we're just defending. We're defending democracy, or we're defending, right? I mean, and by the way, it went from defending democracy to exporting democracy, which is not our job, right? To being peacekeepers, right? We're keeping the peace. No, you're not.
We got to spread democracy, which, is funny even to say if you think about it, because democracy is mob rule. We say democracy is bad, but we want to spread democracy.
Well,
I'm just
hang
saying.
on.
Talk about being in a word.
Well, but we're not a democracy.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. People use the word democracy. We are a constitutional republic.
Why would we spread democracy? Something that is fundamentally a flawed and horrible system. It's terrible. Whatever.
Well, look, it's why there's a bicameral system, right? The House of Representatives is supposed to burn hot. That is democratic. And I would argue, I think it's the 17th or the 19th Amendment that changed the way senators were elected. Senators were used to be elected by their state legislatures,
they were
then appointed, by the state legislature, as opposed to direct election. I think that's also where it changed the nature of politics, because they were supposed to be sort of like the House of Lords and House of Commons, right? They were supposed to be bicameral, where one burned hot and one was sort of the cooling chamber, if you will. Now, there are still legacies of that in the Senate, most notably with the filibuster, which obviously tries to protect the rights of the minority. But I think that's something that we've lost in all of this. So democracy burns hot. I mean, democracy are people with a pitchfork and torches that want to burn down things when they're angry. And I understand some of that sometimes.
But we don't want that.
We are a constitutional republic. We are not a democracy. We do not directly elect the president, right? And we are governed by a constitution, not by the rule of the majority. Democracy equals the rule of the majority. That's it.
Yep. And that's your civics lesson for this New Year's Eve, ladies and gentlemen. I love it. So, okay. So if you guys have any questions, if you have any questions about any of the guests, anything for us, put them in the chat, put them in the comments section. Let us know. We'll read them on the air.
And since it's New Year's Eve, let us know what your beverage of choice is.
Oh,
I mean,
good.
are we attracting beer drinkers, wine drinkers, or martini drinkers?
I think Lord Benjamin is drinking mead.
Whatever that is.
That's what Vikings drink.
So I want to roll to the next interview with Harmeet Dhillon.
Yeah.
I cannot think of anyone who has been at the forefront of this, of protecting civil rights and the rights of children, and fighting against this whole transgender. I mean, here's the truth. If you're gay, if you're lesbian, I really don't care your sexual preference. But when you start not only mutilating children, but when you start transgendering, I mean, this is really simple. There are only two genders. There aren't 12.
Yeah.
Right. It's really, really simple. And then when you want to change a boy into a girl or a girl into a boy, you lose me. I mean, to me, you're going against God's laws. It's that simple. There are biologically two genders and only two genders.
Yeah.
So I can't think of anyone who's been at the forefront of fighting for what I would call real civil rights or human rights than Harmeet Dhillon. And I think she is an outstanding pick by President Trump as the Assistant Attorney General of civil rights in this country. Let's play a little bit of that.
I view what's happening to America's children who are being subjected to this contagion, and it's mainly girls who are succumbing to it as children, as a human rights issue, because these children are put in the care of adults with authority, that's teachers and doctors, psychiatrists, and guidance counselors. And it's typically not the parents pressuring them to do it. It's something that they picked up either through our frankly abusive and addictive social media companies in America, or more frequently, we see now the schools. We see a concerted effort, a well-funded effort by LGBTQ nonprofits and other social engineering organizations to push this ideology in the schools. And because it is a lie that you can change your body from male to female. There's no amount of hormones or sex mimicry surgery that can do that. So first of all, there are a few psychologically challenged moms who are pushing this at a younger age. More commonly, what we've seen is it is something that the children themselves pick up through social media or through pressure in the schools. And we've had multiple cases involving, even before we got to the surgical cases, and two of our lawsuits.
And she is Harmeet Dhillon. She is representing a number of detransitioners out in California. She, what is her, hang on, we have her law firm and stuff up
Dhillon Law.
Okay.
Dhillon Law, Dhillon, Dhillon Law. And I know we need to keep the show moving because there's so much we can spend on. I also want to bring up Doug Burgum, right? We had the honor of interviewing him at New Hampshire's First in the Nation Summit. He was then running for, the nominee to be the nominee for president. Ultimately, obviously, he withdrew. But I was most impressed with these Midwestern values and his understanding of the energy sector, which I think I want to play again for everybody real quick, because energy is the backbone of this country. I think you'll see the XL pipeline now started over again. But again, cannot think of a better pick. I will tell you, personnel is policy in all administration. And I am greatly heartened this term over the first term of Donald Trump's pick for office, not the least of which Governor Doug Burgum. Let's roll that. How do you tackle that as president in terms of addressing not only the war against Israel, but the larger issue of the head of the snake, which is Iran?
Well, you're right on track about Iran, because what I like to say, when I'm your president, this won't be happening, because what we've got is responding wars through weakness. The appeasement strategy that started under Obama relative to Iran with the Iran nuclear deal and now continued on under the Biden administration is the same thing. We were also weak on supporting Ukraine, and we were weak in essentially greenlighting Putin to go into Russia.
Right.
And then we were super weak when we pulled out of Afghanistan. I mean, wouldn't we want to have that Bagram Air Base right now as things start to heat up in the Middle East? And so we've basically done all that, and then all that greenlights China to do whatever they want in Taiwan. And so it's a set of policies that we have, both abroad and national security and home economically, that are all self-inflicted under Joe Biden. None of this needs to be happening. We got to go in a 180 different degree turn going forward on both national security and on our economy.
All right. Ben, okay.
Oh, wait, pull that clip up again. You just had it. I want the piece about
Hold on. No, it's okay. It's okay. It sounds like we have it. So I don't know if I can fast forward on these clips. So yeah, no, it plays or it doesn't. So unfortunately, I stopped it where we were starting. So
All right. Well, all I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, is that I think again, Governor Burgum is an excellent pick as the
agree.
Secretary of the Interior, because he understands energy. He understands the need to be energy independent in this country, and he has these Midwestern values that I think play well in flyover country because he gets it. It's fairly simple.
Excellent, excellent. All right. And so now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break and hear from our sponsor, the American Center for Education and Knowledge. So make sure while you're watching this video that you like it, that you share it, give us a comment, share a question or whatever in the chat.